himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on. So Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the round pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's allowed to have fun. Yeah. It's all about the entertainment, so I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching. And Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Our whistle-stop tour around the Americas continue here on the Radical Race Series SR10 Championship for Season 4 of 2024. We're in Florida and we're at the iconic and world-recognised Sebring International Raceway. And a warm welcome to all our viewers. Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the JP Broadcasting Network as you join myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parfitt, who I'll bring in very, very shortly. Sebring, flatter than a pancake on Shrove Tuesday, but bumpy, undulating, fast overtaking of opportunities, and plenty of slipstreaming on the cards around this nearly 5.8 kilometre circuit. More to the point, we're going to have a look at the scores on the doors. Still, the battle continues between James Barry and Simon Edwards. Just 9 points coming into this penultimate round out of 13 weeks on the trot. So, James Barry, 484. Simon Edwards, 475. Paul LeMay jumps up to third in the standings, having overtaken Jorge Gonzaga after last week's adventures at Road America. Gonzaga rounds out the top four ahead of Mike Bousson from Team Radline, who's on 326. Then a further 60 points behind. Daryl Taylor's moved up from 8th to 6th in the standings, ahead of Mr. Positivity of this championship, Phil Glover. David Rolliston has also made up the most amount of positions in the last couple of weeks. He's made up 3 places in the championship standings now, currently 8th ahead of Graham all the way down to 11th in the standings. He's ahead of Jamie Bird, who makes his return to the championship this week. Luke Maxwell, Michael LeMay and James McRitchie round out the top 15 in the standings. Dan Webster, Damien G, Paul Clark, Graham Brown and Paul Crabb round out the top 20 with David Beasley, Robert Woodward, Phil Jocelyn, Neb Smith and Tim Adcock with Chris Kane rounding out the last of the point scorers. And with that in mind, good evening, Mr. Parfitt. Welcome back.
Good evening, dear sir. How are you? How was everything last week? Obviously, I wasn't here, so how did it all go?
It was definitely interesting at Road America, but you know what? It's going to come down to the final round of the championship next week at your favourite and my favourite circuit, Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache at Interlagos. Of course, we have got our qualifying session coming up very, very shortly. Of course, for those new to the format here for Radical Race Series, it's going to be a sprint followed by a top 10 reverse grid feature. Here at Sebring, it's 8 laps for the sprint, with the grid decided by the qualifying session, 10 minutes in all, and then we'll have a 13 lap raw around this circuit. But Sebring, bumpy, changes in tarmac surface. It can get a bit dusty at times. These drivers are going to have to put everything that they know in racecraft around this circuit, aren't they?
They are, and poor old Phil Glover, motion simulated VR. Can you imagine?
I was talking about that last week. I just thought motion, VR, not motion or VR on their own, fine. Together, that has just got a remedy of everything from your stomach literally being vacated quite quickly. If you're not used to it.
Oh, mate, he is. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on. I think that's the thing here. He likes Sebring, he said to me, so that's fine. He's happy with Sebring, but I think it would be interesting to see how he does here. I think that's going to be one of the things for Phil Glover, and how he gets on with the bumpiness in the VR situation that he has got. I'm really looking forward to this. I like this circuit. I know there's a couple of people out there who don't like this circuit, Mr. O'Leary being one of them, and Mr. Sweeney being another one who also is not too keen on this circuit, but I really like it. I think this circuit is good. It delivers great racing, and I think it'll be okay.
I mean, whenever IMSA or World Endurance Championship have gone around this circuit, it's been absolutely brilliant to watch in real life. And here it's, you know, you've got that wonderful mix of obviously being an old airfield, pretty much like every circuit in the United Kingdom. Hint, hint. But it's just got that charisma, that old school charm about it. And not much has really changed as we get into the 10-minute qualifying session. But the biggest challenges for the drivers are going to be obviously that fast sweeper going into T1 off of the start-finish straight. And then, of course, you've got the run-up towards Turn 2, then Gurney Bend, then the hairpin. Then you've got the top part of the circuit where you've got a lot of changes in direction. So you go through the left-hander, you know, the sort of like the right-left, you can't really call it a chicane, but a Fangio. Then you go to Cunningham Corner, Collier Curve. Then you got that really nice run down from Tower Turn all the way down to Le Mans Curve before the Almond Straight via Genderbean Bend, and then of course Sunset Bend, which is where we could see these Radical SR10s very, very badly upsettled, depending on how you hit the undulations. But it's going to be a tough challenge. We've also got quite a lot of cars on the grid tonight, 15 in total, including who's just joined us, Ben Gregory, in the number 6. Who's now I'm going to put this into perspective, folks. Simon Edwards, who we're on board with at the moment, has an I rating of 7,068. Ben Gregory, 897, which means we welcome all skill levels here at Radical Race Series.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no preference over what it is you do, as long as you drive clean and drive sensible. You know, I know some very fast drivers who have got some very poor IR, partly because it's like anything. It's when you join iRacing, you go, woohoo, I'm Max Verstappen, baby! And you're like, crash, lose IR. Crash, lose IR. And you end up below 1,000. And then you join a league, because some people say, look, that's where the better racing is, and your skills develop, and you just don't ever go back to officials. And a lot of these drivers don't actually do officials. It's in pretty much every league I broadcast. They don't do officials, and it doesn't matter whether or not Ben Gregory down here has got an I rating that's lower than everybody else, and by miles, as long as he enjoys himself, stays clean, doesn't take anybody out, it ain't going to be a problem.
Yep, so very soon, well, we are getting underway with the hot laps, as we have 2 minutes and 20 out of 10 completed in this qualifying session. In free practice, we saw Simon Edwards top the times at around about a 1 minute 54. Hello to you and Bremer, and also to Mr. JPB Superfan, of course, Phil across the pond. Good evening, Phil. Welcome along, buddy. And, well, I think one of the standout performances was from Paul LeMay last week. Loves Road America. Got 2 top 3 finishes. Was close. Even gave James Barry a little bit of jip as well in the opening race at Road America, which was quite enjoyable for me and Biggles. But we are seeing some sector times coming in, and Paul LeMay at the moment lighting up purple on sectors 1 and 3. We have got 7 sectors around here. Road America, we had 3. So we were like, oh, 3, and now here at Sebring, it's like 7.
I don't know why we've got 7. I can't answer the question. No circuit is ever split into 7 sectors there as well, so I don't really understand it, to be blatantly honest. It confuses the living daylights out of me. Paul LeMay got purples in sectors 4 and 5. Edwards didn't have it in 2. That has gone to James Barry. Barry's got 1 and 2. Paul Clark's got 3. LeMay's got 4 and 5. And Edwards has got 6 and nearly 7, if he can just muster it on this one. Let us know who you're cheering on for, guys, in YouTube chat once again. That would be absolutely amazing here as we make it over the line with Simon Edwards. What time's he going to do? 1:54. Paul LeMay should be, oh, I thought it was going to be quicker. 54.573. So it's all going to be on what this man can do here with James Barry as our times come in thick and fast on the timing tower on the left-hand side. But, you know, interesting circuit, interesting racing, of course, and let's not forget we've got an 8-lap sprint and a 13-lap feature. So lots to contend with here this evening.
Yeah, Paul LeMay lost out 0.2 of a second, over 0.2 of a second, behind Simon Edwards in sector number 6. So if he hadn't lost that time, he would have been quicker. So James Barry making his way down the Almond Straight into the very bumpy complex here at Sunset Bend. You can see the suspension travel, making that car bounce up and down a little bit like a yo-yo. He throws it towards the outside of the corner. And James Barry across the line goes top straight away. A 1:53.971.
Yeah, he's looking very mighty as Mr. Barry already, to be blatantly honest with you. And I think It's going to be tough for some of these guys to be able to get near him. I think that's the thing for James Barry. He is a very quick driver anyway, and now is really proving his point. But Edwards has got quicker in 1 and 5, but what's he going to be able to do for 6, which, believe it or not, is just at the end of the straight here when we get another sector done and dusted. But I think overall everything's looking good for him. 153.9, first man in the 153s by about half a second as well, which, as you and I know, is pretty big in the world of motor racing.
Yeah, so Simon Edwards, purple in sectors 1 and 5, gets very close to the wall on the left-hand side, coming out of Sunset Bend. What's the response from the current, the 7-time champion? He goes literally 35 thousandths quicker. Everyone's favourite carrot cruncher, Mike Bousson, goes up to P4. Graham Brown now goes up to 5th. Then it's quickly deposed down to 6th, courtesy of Portugal's Jorge Gonzaga. Oh, a little bit of a snap on there for Edwards. And it's all changing all the time. Seth Brown up to 9th. Phil Glover rounds out the top 10, covered by 1.6 seconds. Luke Maxwell is on a personal best at the minute as he makes his way through into Sunset Bend, throws it high and wide to the outside. Let's see what the number 118 manages to do coming out of the final corner. He's on for a personal best, currently 8th at the moment, crosses the line. Now where does this put Luke Maxwell? Up to 6th place. Edwards on an absolute flyer at the moment. A little bit slower than Simon Edwards, than James Barry in the opening sector. Well, the thing is, it was a 12.610, and James Barry has just got a 10th quicker in the opening sector. Still got just under 3 minutes of this qualifying session left to go, but Simon Edwards not finding so much pace in the second half of the laps from sector 4 onwards. This is about halfway through. He's on his way. He's come out of Lamar and down Ullman towards Sunset Bend. So the lap time to beat for pole position in the penultimate round of the season here for season 4 of 2024 is a 1 minute 53.936. Simon Edwards, purple in sector 6. Let's see how close he gets to the tyre wall on the left-hand side. Very close indeed. Keeps it close to the left-hand side, across the line. Oh, he was only 1/8 slower than his fastest lap on that one.
Great lap. Simon Edward Bousson comes over the line as well. 154.639. Paul Clark's got an improvement. Graham Brown, Seth Brown has improved. He's got a purple, believe it or not. Seth Brown in sectors 3. A great job from him. All the way over he goes to the right hand side. Where did he go on the timing tower? Puts himself in 6th. Great job from Seth. What about Jamie Bird? He's going to go over the line as well. Is he going to move up from 13th? He does. He moves up to 10th on a 155.329. Maxwell will be the first one ahead of Barry, who's not too far back, of course. Luke's not being here for a couple of weeks, so for him, big snap.
That was a slam into the wall if ever we saw one. Barry's about to come across the line, currently 2nd at the moment, goes top by a 10th. 1 minute 53.839, plays 1 minute 53.936. Edwards has put in a personal best in the opening sector, and also in sector number 4. So is there an opportunity here for Simon Edwards, despite having 3 sectors that are pretty much bogeys at the moment, is in the fact that they haven't been quicker than the previous tour or the best efforts from the 7-time Radical Race Series champion. Speeds of close to 170 plus miles an hour when we get the slipstream effect in the 2 races coming up here. It's coming up to the final 25 seconds in qualifying. Simon Edwards out of the final corner. Again, another sector to forget in sector 6. Comes across the line. Does he improve? Oh, he does, but he did not usurp James Barry. Oh my goodness me, it was close. It was going to be very, very close. But that is going to be all she wrote. Ben Gregory and Jordan, sorry about that. It was Skittles, wasn't it? Number 22, Daryl Taylor, were on their last laps, but James Barry takes the penultimate pole position of the season here at Sebring International Raceway. And here's the grid for race 1. 8-lap sprint. Barry versus Edwards on the front row again, with Paul LeMay and Jorge Gonzaga, row 2. Graham Brown and Seth Brown, row 3. Mike Bousson and Paul Clark round out the top 4 rows, with the returning Luke Maxwell and the returning Jamie Bird rounding out the top 10. Phil Glover, Michael LeMay, Graham Matthew, Daryl Taylor and newcomer Ben Gregory round out the 15 strong. And, well, Ben's already in the chat saying, my first time in this today, so we'll see how it goes. Well, all the very best of luck, Ben, as we wait for Barry, Edwards and Bousson to get themselves on the grid. They'll have a short time in which to ready up. And then we'll be underway for 8 laps of racing around this nearly 5.8 kilometre circuit. Of course, it is going to be very, very testing going through into turn 1, then into turn 2. And a little flash of the headlights there from Paul LeMay as we just wait for Mike Bousson to ready up. He's the last person that needs to join the grid here. So, of course, this being week 12 out of 13 before the Radical Race Series calls time on its antics in 2024. Everyone's readied up as the 5 red lights here at Sebring will start to ignite. And once they go out, we're off and racing here for the first time tonight. And the lights are out. Let's get racing, folks, here at Sebring. And a good start by James Barry as Simon Edwards tries to slot in behind. Paul LeMay dives up the inside through on the 7-time Radical Race Series champion, but has to duck out of it. It's 3 wide, ever so slightly behind, with the likes of Graham Brown, Jorge Gonzaga trying to put Paul LeMay in a little bit of a pinch, but a great getaway from James Barry. He leads by nearly 0.7 of a second, as there's still some wheel-to-wheel exchanges, notably between the likes of Seth Brown and Luke Maxwell, with Jamie Bird nearly threading the eye of the needle. Jorge Gonzaga trying to do the switcheroo on Mike Bousson as they go through the hairpin for the first time on the run through to Fangio chicane. Yeah, pretty straightforward racing so far here, James. And everyone's keeping things under wraps for the minute.
Yeah, they are. Barry out in front with Edwards, LeMay, Brown, Bousson, Gonzaga. It's great to see Paul LeMay get off the line at Sebring, of course. If anybody remembers back, there was that time he was on pole position and literally didn't go anywhere. And I don't just mean rolled forward, I mean he didn't go anywhere as well. So it's great to see him off at the line. But we're on board with Jamie Bird, who's going to be very spicy. Nearly trying to send it 3 wide down into the hairpin. Didn't manage to make it work this time. But it's going to be his first run down that back straight. Down we go, down the Ormond now. How fast is the draft going to make these cars, and how strong is it going to be? That's going to be the question. Is it going to be strong enough to pull him close? You see Barry weaving harder than one and hitting a jumper at this moment in time, trying to break the draft there, and through he goes. Edwards tightens it up. He's now going to let it run. Off you go. He'll start opening up just a little bit. Now on the gas he'll go and start getting that run as well. Pretty strong, but not strong enough, I don't think, as what we expected it to be.
No, I mean, Edwards was topping out at about 165 miles an hour before the braking zone into Sunset Bend as we head on to lap 2 out of 8. Mike Bousson now drops behind Jorge Gonzaga. There you see the 666 from Team Bradline has got the insert name here, eSports team driver in front of him. Gonzaga, the teammate of James Barry, who comes in to tonight's racing with a 9-point lead. Oh no, Graham Brown's dropped it.
Yes. He did. Now, the question was there contact from Gonzaga?
That's the big $64,000 question. I think it was all unassisted. Yeah, Graham's just rotated it. I think maybe a little bit loud a little bit too early on the loud pedal, and around she went.
Yeah, unfortunately for Graham Brown, Bouson's pulling us in as we go into coming on the right hand. Up behind Bousson is Maxwell. They are in the same coloured car here. So far, so good for Gregory. Yeah, he's still out on the circuit and he's ahead of Graham Brown. That's all that matters here as well. Ben Gregory, he's just out here for the first time in this car, doing an absolute stellar job. But Simon Edwards Edwards, James Barry, now having a right little ding-dong coming in to Gelderblom. Oh.
Genderbean.
That one done. That's the one. Going into
There
the
we
Le
go.
Mans complex of the circuit. Round the right-hander before they go down the Oldman Street. Stupid corner name that is.
At least they're naming their corners, unlike some places in the world.
Yeah, well, at least we ain't got, you know, VIR where it's 7A, B, C, D, and E. You know what I mean? Because somebody can't just do 7, 8, 9,
It sounds
and
like
10.
an algebra equation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But meantime, this is getting a bit fruity behind Mike Bousson, trying to throw it around the outside at Sunset Bend. Now that's brave, but he's got to try and duck in underneath as Luke Maxwell fires it around the outside of Jamie Bird through the final corner. This is going to get a little bit fruity going into turn 1 as Bousson sweeps to the outside of Jorge Gonzaga. He's going to get the overspeed there. That
nice.
textbook from Mike Bousson round the outside, doing the old Slim Shady, and lines it up nice and neatly there for turn 2. Maybe Bird went a little bit deep, and then also returning Paul Clark, and he gives him a little bit of damage in the left-hand side panel. Yeah, nice little message from Jamie Bird actually in the last time that I mentioned about Club 100. Well, he's still rocking the Club 100 Evo stickers on the side of his Radical SR10. Paul Clark getting out of trouble there, going through into the hairpin turn, just allowing Bird to get back through. We now go on board with Jorge Gonzaga at 150 miles an hour going into Cunningham Corner. You're down the gearbox, you're into second gear, 60 miles an hour. Now start to accelerate, build the speed, build the momentum through Collier Curve. And then you got the 90 right coming up here at Tower Turn. Back down into third, 70 miles an hour. Now start to accelerate through the Flying Fortress Straight, and you are quite literally flying. Fifth gear, 130 plus miles an hour, and you could just see at this part of the course itself how close under slipstream you're getting. Certainly when we get through into Loma very shortly, we could see whether if Gonzaga has a good run, is he going to close the gap onto Bousson? Well, at the minute here, James, the answer is quite clearly no.
Yeah, nothing at the moment. I have turned myself up a little bit more, Phil, and turned the cars down. I hate the radicals. The volume goes up and down so much depending on where you are on the car. Gonzaga's going to send it in deep. He's going to try and get the cut back. There's the early grip for Gonzaga. Now he's going to be on the accelerator. In front of us at the moment is Mike Bousson. As we can see, we're going to try and make that move into turn 1. Is he going to sweep around the outside? Should have gone the other way. Should have gone the other way, because watch, if Bousson's going to carry enough speed, he's going to hold on to that position. Oh, there's contact.
Mike lost it and then got tagged.
Oh,
I think Mike got tagged on the second phase of this. Look, he's turning in.
oh, look at that.
I know.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the biggest part of the internet doing its thing. Let's just put it that way. That was absolutely massive from the lovely, wonderful world of our netcode situation. That was a huge one.
And all I've got to say about that is this.
Oh, don't, dude, that was absolutely insane. There was so much room between them as well. I've been turned down a bit. Oh, God blimey, Phil, you're blinking up, down, up, down, up, down. I feel like I'm in an elevator.
James, yeah, mate, you're like a yo-yo on the string. It's like, yes, no, yes, no.
I've turned them up again now, Phil.
It's like the Chuckle Brothers. To me, to you, to me, to you. But meantime, well, it's a bit of a repeat from Road America. Last week we got the 3 people that are actually, funny enough, this is 1, 2, 3 in the championship standings, if I remember correctly, which it is. Let me just check. It is. So we have got James Barry leading. Simon Edwards has got a run and a half going into Sunset Bend, excuse me. And then you got Paul LeMay. Not too far behind. Now, Paul has been, and we've talked with him quite a lot about this, that one of his arms doesn't quite function as well as the other, but at certain circuits, he seems to do really, really well. And Road America was a circuit that showcased that talent very, very nicely. You could just see how hard they're all pushing. Now, I did say to Paul, it was nice to see you give James Barry a little bit of a frightener in the first race last week. Well, can he do the same to Simon Edwards? We're now on to lap 5 out of 8.
much here with Paul LeMay. Is he going to pressurise Edwards enough? Is Edwards going to be able to pressurise Barry? He knows LeMay's there. He'll be able to hear him at this point. There isn't going to be any sort of sit-back worry. We know that he's there, and we know that we're going to be able to hear him. So Simon Edwards has got to be aware that LeMay's there. He does have doubt in his own ability, Paul LeMay, which sometimes drives me absolutely insane. But as you say, he is carrying an injury, and he has been carrying it for practically over a year now, if I remember correctly. So it does affect the way it goes. Just a little bit worried that this bumpiness of this circuit could really affect his arm this time around. But he's doing a great job. Still there, only half a second back.
Yeah, and things are getting really hot and heated, and as they, well, if anyone might remember the words from a film called RoboCop, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. That was from OCP chairman Dick Jones. Well, Simon Edwards is definitely putting the heat into this battle at the front end of the field, because James Barry, no matter how many times he goes to left to right, to left to right, here on Almond Straight, Edwards is closing. Edwards pulls to the outside. He's going to try for the old undercut here through Sunset Bend, and that's allowed Paul LeMay to also close in. So we've got 3 to go, including this one. We start lap 6 out of 8. Paul LeMay gets a double toe from the 2 in front, and Edwards is looking for a nose up the inside into T1. Will he get through? Yes, James Barry doesn't really fight it.
Barry drifted in a little bit hot going into 1. That opened up the door there for Edwards to make his way through. LeMay's now got this opportunity where he can use Barry. I thought he would have gone with Edwards. I thought he would have slipped up the inside and followed that draft, but you saw he wasn't even in the draft going into 1. He was all the way to the right while these guys were in the middle of the circuit-ish situation scenario. So for him, he's got to go again, Paul LeMay, because I think he can on his day match that pace up. Luke Maxwell, Gonzaga, Brown and Bird, they're all fighting it out for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th here. Paul Clark's trying to get onto the back of him for 8th, and then there's a bit of a gap behind, but we've got Darrell Taylor who's having a little bit of a ding dong with Mr. Ben Gregory. Buson is in pit lane for Mike, unfortunately, after his incident with Jorge Gonzaga. But Seth Brown, as we speak about Gonzaga, putting him under pressure.
Yeah, so, and he's got Jamie Bird just behind for close company. Luke Maxwell leads this quartet. This is the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, as we are fast approaching our penultimate lap, coming through very shortly here at Sebring International Raceway. Please don't forget, if you are watching along and you haven't subscribed, hit that like, share and subscribe button whilst you're at it. Hit the notification bell whilst you're at it as well, because we are getting closer and closer to 3,000 subscribers. We're just over 2,700 at the moment as things stand, as we see this nice little slipstream battle at over 160 miles an hour as Seth Brown tries to throw it up the inside through at Sunset Bend on Jorge Gonzaga, but then Jamie Bird closes in under braking and under slipstream as, oh, into the wall goes Luke Maxwell. Oh, that was a little bit of a hard hit at over 100 miles an hour whilst accelerating. And Gonzaga, is he going to throw it to the outside? He's going to give it a try, but Seth Brown's going to try for the undercut on the 113. Gonzaga trying to get through this point. This will line up nicely for T2. He's going to try and get through, but Maxwell still holds his nerve, holds his position, and keeps the grasp on P4. Great stuff.
Yeah, great fighting from these guys, and they're still continuing now as well. You can see Gonzaga's pulled out. Maxwell's gone to the inside line. Brown's closing in. He's kind of sitting in the middle of both of the cars, really. Not really picking a racehorse to have a battle with. He's gonna, nearly had his own little tap with Mr. Gonzaga there going into the hairpin. It's all looking very tight and very tough. Now Jamie Bird is having a go. He's going to try and make a run around the outside going into Cunningham. Is the door still going to be open? Well, Seth Brown says yes, you can go, and allows Jamie Bird to go through. So that was great action. The front three at one point were less than about half a second apart, and they are currently at this moment in time. So it's very, very tough for all of these guys at the moment. Barry can't really clear Edwards. LeMay can't really clear both of them. And then you've got Maxwell, Gonzaga, Bird and Brown, who really can't clear each other either.
Well, Edwards within the last 60 seconds actually took the lead off of James Barry, so we're going to have one more to go after this one. Edwards employing the same tactic as Barry down the Almond Straight as we go into Sunset Bend for the penultimate lap of this race. So there's going to be one more to go. Barney the flag marshal is going to wave the white flag. So here we go. Who's going to pick up the win here at Sebring in the 8-lap sprint race, as it's a gap of about a tenth and a bit. Maybe make that 2 tenths going into turn 2. James Barry getting very, very close to the inside wall at turn 1. Now through up towards turn 2. Edwards parks it on the racing line. Now through into 3 and 4 before we hit Gurney Bend, named after legendary sports car racer Dan Gurney. Then we head down into Hairpin Turn as we head underneath the Mobile 1 bridge. And that gap is now about 3 tenths of a second to hard on the anchors, down to second gear. And then it's power through out of Hairpin Turn and into the Fangio chicane and up to Cunningham Corner. But yeah, Edwards' opportune moment to get past Barry is going to help him with regards to points once again, because Edwards and Barry were battling tooth and nail last time out at Road America. And once again, it's just gone to show that the 9-point differential is going to be very, very slightly different come the end of this race.
Yeah. Barry's in second place, Edwards in first, LeMay a little bit further back. They've just lapped Mr. Gregory, who you've just seen move out the way, but this is the final run, the final go for James Barry. How close is he going to get? Edwards spits up dust, Edwards to the left, now he's to the right. He's going to be like this all the way down. He's got his one move, now he goes back again. He's going to hold on into the final corner.
So the lead in the point standings for James Barry was 9 points coming into this race. Out of the final corner, it's another sprint victory for Simon Edwards, and it brings the gap down to 6 as he wins by nearly 3 tenths of a second after 8 laps here at Sebring. Another top 3, third in a row for Paul LeMay. Jorge Gonzaga pips Luke Maxwell by 72 thousandths across the line to take 4th place. Paul Clark 6th, Jamie Bird 7th, Phil Glover in 8th, Seth Brown in 9th, and Graham Matthew, who's going to put it on the top 10 reverse grid pole position, rounds out the top 10. And here is Maxwell versus Gonzaga. Maxwell throws the old dummy here. Now, is he going to go inside or outside? He's going to go outside, isn't he? Sweeps to the inside, tries the old Mansell dummy, can't get it done. Gonzaga kept it nice and neat and tidy. Then we had Graham Brown finishing in 11th. Darryl Taylor, we're just waiting for Mr. Skittles to make his way through in towards Genderbean Bend, which he's now approaching as we speak. We've gone through Bishop and then into Lamar Corner, or Lamar Curve before the Almond Straight. He'll be the last driver to cross the line and take the checkered. Good shout out here for Ben Gregory. Even though he finished a lap down, still got to the end of the race and picks up points despite being his first time out with the Radical SR10s. Michael LeMay out on lap 7, Mike Bousson out on lap 3, but here we go. Darryl Taylor fires it wide out of Sunset Bend, and there he goes across the line. But again, Simon Edwards putting the pressure on to one Mr. James Barry. Let's have a look at the scores on the doors for the sprint race. Simon Edwards wins by nearly 3 tenths of a second. James Barry in second. His advantage in the championship standings now going from 9 to 6 points as a result of it being 25 for a win in the sprint, 22 for second in the feature. Paul LeMay also solidifies his position third in the championship by taking P3, his third top 3 finish in as many races. Jorge Gonzaga, Luke Maxwell, Paul Clark, Jamie Bird, Phil Glover, Seth Brown, and Graham Matthew, who becomes our feature race top 10 reverse grid pole sitter, finishes 10th. Ahead of Graham Brown, Darryl Taylor, Ben Gregory, Michael LeMay, and Mike Bousson. Well, what a nice way to kick off the evening there, JP.
Yeah, I've got 6 points between them. Edwards on 500, Barry's on 506 at this moment in time. So there we go. That's what we've got coming up. We've got race number 2 not too far away whatsoever. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because race 2 will be kicking off very, very shortly. We've got about 45 seconds.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is that Simon Edwards played it rather cool in that race. He let Barry do all the work, didn't he? And that's been one of the good things that we've seen from someone who's a 7-time champion and someone who has been many times the bridesmaid and has been the bride once, James Barry. Barry's got to try and throw a curveball at Edwards' plans round here for this longer feature race, I think.
But you saw what Edwards' plan was. When he was out in front at certain points of the circuit going into turn 2, he literally parked it in the middle and said, go on then, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
He didn't give him no option. So,
Gave him no choice.
No.
Yeah, put him between a rock and a hard place. But here it is, folks. Here is your upcoming grid for the feature race. 13 laps instead of 8 for the sprint that we've had just a moment ago. So Graham Matthews finishing 10th in race 1 starts the feature on pole position. Seth Brown joins him on the front row with Phil Glover and Jamie Bird on row 2. Paul Clark and Luke Maxwell followed by Jorge Gonzaga and Paul LeMay, with James Barry and Simon Edwards rounding out the top 10. Graham Brown, Darrell Taylor, Ben Gregory, Michael LeMay and Mike Bousson round out the 15-strong grid. We're just waiting for Messrs Barry and Bousson to join the grid. They won't have long to do so. But yeah, like you say, it's going to be that case that as long as Edwards keeps Barry behind him, it's going to be one of those tall orders. But everyone is readied up on the grid for the feature for Radical Race Series SR10 Season 4 2024 Round 12 feature. The 5 red lights ignites and they're out. We're underway. We're racing. Let's see who gets to turn 1 first. Looks like Graham Matthew is going to try and keep it pinned to the inside, but there comes Phil Glover. He might try and make it 3 wide, but Seth Brown throws it around the outside, gets the initial advantage, and more to the point, well, Paul LeMay has already dropped a couple of places behind Simon Edwards and James Barry, who have both made up a place on the early exchanges. And there you see behind Phil Glover, Luke Maxwell and Paul Clark going toe-to-toe through into turn 2 on this opening tour, but Seth Brown has scarpered away early.
Yeah, he's done what he needs to do. He's escaped down the road of Seth Brown, and he's out in front by 1.26 seconds. Bird has just gone up the inside of Matthews. Glover's in there. Maxwell has just lost a place to Clark and done that. Oh, then there was contact with Barry and Gonzaga. All right, Edwards and Gonzaga, I should say. And that was a knock-on effect from the Paul Clark, Luke Maxwell situation. Gonzaga now with Edwards. This is going to be a fight. He is not going to let him go, like he probably just let James Barry go, I can tell you that much. And now Edwards is going to have to fight because he knows George is going to play it hard.
And Darrell Taylor's just spun it in the background as well in his own right. So Luke Maxwell has ended up in pit lane already. So an early slight casualty there for the 118, the returning Luke Maxwell, who always provides a fantastic show, but we've got a real dogfight on our hands as we're only getting towards the beginning of the opening lap out of 13 here at Sebring International Raceway. So plenty of racing action coming up on the JP Broadcasting Network throughout the entirety of the weekend, because tomorrow we'll all be saying thank God it's Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday plenty of racing to take part on this channel. Simon Edwards closing in on Jorge Gonzaga as Paul LeMay staying with the number 52, the 7-time Radical Race Series champion, and James Barry now makes his way up to 4th place, getting ahead of Graham Matthew, who's our top 10 reverse grid pole sitter for this feature. And now it's a case of how quickly can Edwards expedite his way past the likes of Gonzaga, Matthew et al, and try and go wheel to wheel with his chief rival James Barry, who has a little bit more of an advantage and will look to extend his championship lead once again.
Edwards has got damage.
Yeah.
He has got damage, and he got it involved with the Paul Clark. And I do worry whether or not that has done him no favours, because they're going to come together very shortly there. Then he takes bang, clips the front rear of Luke, and then hits Gonzaga, and that has given him damage on his car because he is slower than everybody else. Even under draft, he's lost a place to Paul LeMay. He's going to lose a place to Graham Brown as well. I think this could be Edwards' second race, could be a matter of damage limitation, even though there is damage on that car, and I can tell you that from a fact because there was 152 from Edwards going down through Gurney Bend into the hairpin, and it was 155 from Gonzaga, and Gonzaga was in front.
Paul Clark has spun it again. Oh, and he was right in front of Mike Bousson. Not what he needed there. You can see is there.
Graham Brown.
Yeah, it was Graham Brown, was it? Oh, he's hit the back of him.
Yeah, Mike's just hit him on that one, unfortunately. But you can see here, 4-wide situation. Gonzaga has he lost that place to Edwards. Maybe the draft is helping Edwards here. No, clip the wall again.
Oy, that was a scrape. That was a scrape. I mean, that's going to be right front damage as a result of that concertina effect that we had earlier. Gonzaga's going to try and fire it up the inside. Takes it very close to the wall through turn 1. On Simon Edwards. Edwards keeps it pinned, stays in the wheel tracks of Paul LeMay, but LeMay now is hemorrhaging time to those in front. James Barry now finds himself 3.2 seconds behind Jamie Bird, who's put in the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 54.896. Seth Brown has a lead that is starting to come down because he was less than 0.3 slower than Jamie Bird on the second lap out of 13. But, yeah, I mean, this is going to be the case of Barry, who's got clear air now. Now, he may not have the draft here at Sebring, but it's going to help him in the fact that he'll have clear air and the opportunity to do qualifying-style push laps.
Yeah, he's got to go one after the other here. 3.2 seconds. These guys don't want to be stupid. And I don't mean that in any disrespect. They don't want to be battling each other. They want to literally save the battling for the last couple of laps. Get 4 seconds, 5 seconds over Barry. We know generally, and I know craziness that this is sounding, 2 cars travel faster than 1. So if they can keep it together, keep that draft in there, and then that way they should be able to open up a gap from the man behind. He's getting no draft whatsoever at the moment. Bird needs to slot right in behind Brown. Try and minimize and open it up as much as possible here, because if they start bringing him into it, they're going to start causing each other problems, and that's the thing. You don't want to. You can see it was out of 3.3. Now Bird's got to get in behind him and get that back out to 3 seconds, because at the moment it's 2.9.
Yeah, just going to see what James Barry's lap time is. New fastest lap, no surprise there, 1:54.6. As that is now Paul LeMay up the inside of Phil Glover. Oh, LeMay went a bit too deep there into T1, and he's lost it to Mr. Positivity himself, Phil Glover, who normally does a lot of work behind the scenes with Simon Edwards, as Simon helps him quite a bit with his setup. And now, well, Phil has got Paul LeMay around the outside of him, going through into Gurney Bend. Decides to duck out of the way. He knows that his fight is not with these drivers, so good spatial awareness as always from Phil. Sometimes it's always been a case of wrong place, wrong time for the 0-7 at points, where he's been fighting away really, really well, and then all of a sudden he'll get a biff from behind at times.
Yeah, we're now going to go on the inside on board with Mr. Gonzaga there. Through we go over Phil Glover, who's going to set after Mr. Edwards. The gap up front, 2.7 to Bird, from Bird to Barry. And they've got to make sure Bird really needs to try and tighten this up. And he needs to ride almost in his wake as such for him, and just close it in and close it in and close it in. He doesn't want to try and do anything silly. Save that for lap 10, lap 11, lap 12. It doesn't really matter what lap, as long as you're over the line first in front of the cars behind. Your main focus is opening that gap from that car behind. The kid's fast, Barry. There's not a shadow of a doubt about it. And if he gets close, it's all going to be game over. He's got to make sure that they can try and keep this gap to him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is now Jamie Bird towards the outside of Seth Brown. This could be changed for the lead into T1. Wheel to wheel between Bird and Brown. Who's going to have the stones to keep it pinned? It is going to be Brown, but Bird is hot on his heels. This is going to bring James Barry back into the mix. He's now about 2.2 seconds, a little bit deep into turn 2 for Jamie Bird, as Seth Brown trying to give him room in the battle for the race lead. Oh, bit of an off track there for Jamie Bird, but he still kept the throttle pinned. Gap now down to 1 3/4 seconds between second and third position. And looking at it from this perspective, well, it was 9 points coming into the sprint race. It's now gone to 6. Another mistake there from Jamie Bird, which has brought the gap down to 1.5. It's going to expand to 11 points after this race, because at the moment James Barry is third, currently 31 points, and then Simon Edwards, even though he's half a second behind Paul LeMay in fourth, is on 26 for this race. So it'll go up from 6 to 11 if it stays like it is right now. But the way things are going a little bit more quickly in the favour of James Barry, as Bird was trying to put Seth Brown between a rock and a hard place, and at this particular moment in time it's allowed James Barry, as you rightly said, James, to close.
Two cars fighting. Silly. Two cars fighting, you end up causing yourself problems, and unfortunately they both caused themselves problems now, because Barry's only 1.2 and closing at a rapid rate of knots. So they shouldn't have held off. They should have basically allowed this to go as it is. You know, Bird's coming around the final corner, he's clearly carrying more speed, clearly more confident, but staying behind him, I wouldn't have been battling it, because as soon as they went into turn 1 side by side, it's half a second gone. Rapid. That was it. Let him take his line. Let him build the gap up. You two are still getting the draft. He still isn't getting the draft. You're still on par. 155.8, 54.4. So Barry's quicker over that last lap, but that was expected, because them two were having a great old little ding-dong with each other. 54.9 fastest lap, 54.7 fastest lap, and a 54.3 fastest lap in the order of Brown, Bird and Barry. So he wasn't going to be able to do that every single time. So you were going to literally keep that gap out to 3.2 seconds. But one bit of fighting, then some mistakes after, and now, well, he's less than a second.
Yeah, looking at the lap times, James Barry was a second quicker than Seth Brown, and in comparison with Jamie Bird, he was 1.4 seconds quicker. Now through into Cunningham Corner they go. Once again, Jamie Bird goes straight on! Oh, that's not what you want to do there.
No. Missed his braking point, I think.
Yeah, he just,
too late on the brakes.
Yeah, it was like, oh, poo.
Yeah.
Words to that effect. And that means that Jamie Bird has dropped down in between Simon Edwards and Jorge Gonzaga, which means that Barry is up to second place and is now only 3/4 of a second behind Seth Brown. But there is a lot of distance that needs to be covered in the next 7 laps after this one, because the gap between Paul LeMay and James Barry now spans at 3.8 seconds, and with damage to both sides of the number 52, Simon Edwards has got to exercise, as you rightly said, James, damage limitation in this race.
Because if Barry takes the win and Edwards doesn't get past LeMay, it's going to be 5.46 to Barry, 5.25 to Edwards going into next week for the final race. So he's got to try, A, hold on to this 4th place, and B, hope that Seth Brown defends like an absolute trooper with this man looming in on him. And at the moment, I don't know if it's if or when. I can't quite work out which one.
I think it's going to be when, not if, with James Barry, because we always know his quality, but also the what-if situation with regards to Seth Brown, who's now got Barry in his wheel tracks, going through hairpin turn, now into the Fangio chicane, as they accelerate through the corners and up the gearbox, now in towards Cunningham Corner. They'll have to drop the gears a couple down, but Barry getting a bit too close. Oh, he nearly could have ended up going straight on like we saw with Jamie Bird on the previous tour, but Barry keeps it nice and clean and tidy. Crosses the T's, dots the I's, now into Tower Turn. Now it's this long run down. Now this is going to be an opportunity for Barry to at least possibly put the Frighteners on, maybe make an overtake on Seth Brown as they come out of Le Mans. They go through Genderbean, now into the 90 right very shortly at Le Mans Curve, heading onto the Almond Straight. This is going to give the opportunity for Barry to explode out of that corner and put the pedal to the metal. Brown has got to now start defending very shortly when they go into Sunset Bend. He's got to take the traditional racing line and keep it nice and neat, unless Barry decides to throw it up the inside, which he does, and that is Barry through.
I think that's probably going to be James Barry's easiest pass of the season.
I think you're right on that one.
There was zero defense. You know what I mean? It's like playing football against 11 versus 1 because there's just zero defense there from Seth Brown whatsoever. Simon Edwards trying to hold on to the gap over Jamie Bird. Bird's on the left-hand side there. Nope, not being able to make it through. Gonzaga's trying to go through on Bird. I really don't want to see that happening into a disaster where he comes across his front and puts him into the wall. But at the moment, for Brown, I don't know, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more go and affect it, go and do it, don't just stay to the left and let him go through, give him some almost, have a go with him, and unfortunately for Simon Edwards, Brown didn't do that, which is now related in them obviously losing that place. I expect, to be blatantly honest, I expect Barry to be running away with it.
Yeah. I think the thing now is that can Seth Brown provide some kind of counter attack, because he's now starting to drop time. I mean, Barry his last lap was 1:55, high 1:55.3. Brown a high 1:55.9. As we ride on board with Jorge Gonzaga going through Bishop Bend, now into Genderbean again here on lap 8 out of 13. We'll have 5 more to go after this one once our leaders cross the line. Simon Edwards running with a damaged vehicle on both sides, on both right and left hand side. You can see again the weaving tactic to try and break the toe. Jorge Gonzaga trying to look for the inside move possibly here on Sunset Bend. Oh, that was brave.
Not brave enough. That is.
Jamie Bird went, hello, peekaboo, remember me?
Yeah, he went in far too quick, did Gonzaga, and couldn't quite get the rotation under braking, and Bird just went, well, thanks very much, I'm going to come back underneath. Gonzaga goes now to the left-hand side of turn 1, tries to get a run out of 2. Gonzaga's still going to have the inside going into 2. No, not this time for Bird. He did end up losing that place, and he lost it quite convincingly to Gonzaga. I am surprised they are not passing Simon Edwards with ease at this moment in time.
I think they've got their own little skirmishes to have between them as we are coming towards the tail end of the season. Now into hairpin. Gonzaga to the inside, Bird to the outside. And Bird uses discretion as the better part of valour, but then as they start to accelerate through Fangio, through in towards Cunningham, he's got a big lick of speed. They've got to scrub off with the brakes very shortly. Bird tries to go to the outside. Gonzaga balls in front of him, cuts the nose off of the number 39, the Racing 86 team, and Bird has to, at the moment, settle for 6th spot as they go through into the right-hander here at Tower Turn. Mike Bousson is swapping places more times than hot roast Sunday dinners with Darryl Taylor at the moment, and not been a good one for the 666 from Team Radline tonight, unfortunately.
No. I think he's probably still recovering from his run up to London in the tractor. You know what I mean, for Mike Bousson. But, yeah, not been a great night. But he's still out there. You know, he could have given it up as a bad job and just decided enough was enough. But he's still out there having a go, bless him.
I'll still give him points on the board at the end of the day. And he still has got a pretty high position in the championship standings anyway, with the results that he's had here at season 4 as they go through into Sunset Bend once again. We are now on to 4 laps remaining, 10 out of 13.
Oh!
Tank slapper there for Mike Bousson. That was nearly a code brown and a clean up on R3 and a possible trip into the barriers as well to boot.
He is lucky that did not snap back the other way. Because if that snapped back the other way, he would have been in deep doo-doo. There was Darrell Taylor was out playing with the grass at that point, turning that SR10 into a lawnmower and concedes that place to Mr. Bousson. However, Bousson did not get the good run coming out of turn 2, and he's now put himself back under pressure on the run down Gurney Bend. He's going to stick to the right-hand side, I would have thought. No, he's not. He's drifted open wide. That's released the skittles a little of Taylor. Going to have that inside line going down into the hairpin. Quite an easy pass again, I must say, for Darrell Taylor that time.
Yeah, I think it's just a case of trying to do what you can, but Mike Bousson back on the counter-offensive here into Cunningham Corner. Do not try and put it around the outside there, Mike. If you're going to try, he did.
Oh.
Now that's a place you rarely see an overtake at Cunningham Corner going into Collier Curve and then in towards Tower Turn. But Mike Bousson, that I think is actually the move of the night so far at a place you don't rarely see any overtaking.
Yeah, Darrell was very, very nice. Very, very nice on the amount of room he gave him as well. Yeah, he gave him plenty. He did definitely give him plenty. What's going on with Edwards and Gonzaga? Gonzaga's back over after Edwards again. He's going to rely on the fact that Edwards is going to get a slow exit out of the final corner. Now running into turn 1. Edwards needs this place. Bird has made a mistake in the background. Edwards has got to hang on to this. He cannot afford to lose any more time going into Interlagos next week. He has to make sure that he can stay where he is. And he's going to have to defend for his life against Mr. Gonzaga,
who was actually best part of a second quicker than him on the previous tour. Probably about 8/10 quicker was Jorge in comparison with Simon, so they're still squabbling away over 4th place. They're nearly 4.8 seconds behind Paul LeMay, who continues to round out the top 3 and has made up 5 spots. James Barry's made up the most spots in any race this evening. He's made up 8 positions from P9 on the outside of the inside of row 5. Michael LeMay has made up 5 places. Simon Edwards 6 places. Paul LeMay 5 places. Jorge Gonzaga started 7th, now up 5 places, 2 places from 7th to 5th. Get your numbers right, Alex Dentures. Yeah, need to fix it then again, JP.
Yeah, been there, mate. I am Medea in YouTube chat. Hi, good evening to you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us on that one. We are just coming to the end of race number 2. We're on lap 11 of 13, the final race of the season, dear. The final race of the season, final race of the evening, dear sir, as well. But much love for joining us here as well. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on the bells, because that will be absolutely amazing.
So, very shortly, we'll be getting things underway for our penultimate lap, which we do now. James Barry now leading by nearly a second. Oh, new fastest lap by the man in P3, Paul LeMay. 1:54.345. Gonzaga and Edwards toe-to-toe, mano a mano, into T1. Gonzaga doing the old Slim Shady, round the outside, gets through, Edwards down to 5th.
Yeah, and then what's going on with Phil and Bird and Clark? They're still going. Matthews is just about to lose that place to Mr. Bousson, but that battle is still running as well. This battle's still running, and of course, we've got this battle. This place is needed by Simon Edwards. He cannot afford to lose any more points, and I know we may sit here, guys, and sit back and go, well, he's going to lose 2, but 2 in the championship at this moment in time. He will be 23 points, I believe, behind James Barry into next week.
Yeah, because it's a 14-point differential at the moment. He got the gap down to 6 points after winning the sprint race earlier on. And yeah, like you say, that'll be 20 points And a mistake there from Simon Edwards coming out of Tower Turn on the run down into Bishop Bend through Flying Fortress. Paul LeMay has done a really good showing once again for the second evening in a row. Showed great prowess at Road America, again having the same kind of success that he did it with 2 successive third places, 4 trips to the podium in the last 4 races alone. As we now start our final lap of the night, James Barry looking to consolidate a 20-point advantage. White flag in the air, last lap, here we go.
Yeah, final lap of the race. Brown and LeMay, that's where the battle is. We've got Gonzaga and Edwards, we've got Glover, Bird and Clark, and we've got Buson, Matthews and Taylor. So still 3 battles, or I think 1, 2, 3 battles to resolve here. And at the moment, LeMay can see Seth Brown. It's going to make him go quicker, but can he get near him? Can he get the job done? Can he get the overtake done? And can he take that second place away from what seems to be a certain Mr. James Barry victory?
So leaders make their way through into hairpin turn for the last time here on lap 13. Out of 13, we head to Interlagos next week for the week 13 season finale for season 4 for the Radical Race Series SR10 Championship. And Paul LeMay getting closer and closer this time into Cunningham Corner. Now the run through into the left at Collier Curve before the 90 right at Tower Turn. James Barry has checked out. He's into another state by now. He's probably ended up going to Orlando rather than being situated here in Sebring, as he's going to lead them through into Genderbean Bend and into Le Mans Curve for the final time. LeMay's got to try and do something, maybe down the Almond Straight into Sunset Bend. Now we go onto the back straightaway for the final time. Second and third, Paul LeMay trying everything in the playbook to try and get one up on Seth Brown, maybe make it a second place finish, but it's going to be clean, clear sailing for the number 10. James Barry comes out of the final corner and is going to take the win here. He's going to now build a 20-point advantage heading into the final round of the season. Barry takes it convincingly. It's a run to the line for second place. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Brown ahead of LeMay.
Yeah, not done yet. Birds alongside Glover. They're running down as well. Birds, I think, may have just done enough to get in front of Glover this time around. And it is going to be Bird. What about Booston and Michael LeMay? That's going to be a little bit closer. That's going to be very, very close. In fact, it's going to be split by a hair out of my nostril. Through he goes, Graham Matthews over with Michael LeMay and Mike Bousson. Great run there from the two of them. And fair play to Michael LeMay for taking that one away from Mike Bousson. And then Mr. Ben Gregory is going to finish off.
And he's going to make it 2 finishes from 2. Well done, Ben. He said it was going to be his first opportunity. And yes, he might have the lowest I rating out of everybody. But what has he done? He's done one thing. One thing above all, he's made sure he's got to the checkered flag every single time. Graham Brown out on lap 1, and Luke Maxwell, well, got as far as the Fangio chicane, and that was it. That was all she wrote for the 118. So a real shame for Luke, who we know is a very, very credible driver, but sometimes it's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, it is. It's just racing, unfortunately. You know, he knows that. He's experienced. He's not new, shall we say. He's not green. But for Gregory, what he needs to do is just basically take what he's learned here and take it forward. Car's not easy. The car is not easy, and I don't care what anybody says. I've driven that car for a long time, and it is not easy. So there we go. But results on the screen.
Well, James Barry now has a 20-point lead going to the season finale for Season 4 at Interlagos next week. He wins by 2.6 seconds ahead of Seth Brown. Paul LeMay, another successive podium, and with it came the fastest lap of the race. He rounds out the top 3. Jorge Gonzaga and Simon Edwards complete the top 5. What can Simon Edwards bring to the party at the firework finale at Interlagos next week? Well, you're going to have to wait 7 days to find out. Jamie Bird, Phil Glover, Paul Clark, Michael LeMay, and Mike Bousson round out the top 10. Graham Matthew, Daryl Taylor, and Ben Gregory are last classified finishers out of the 15 starters. Graham Brown and Luke Maxwell, unfortunately, retiring early here tonight. Well, we've got some drivers to interview, so I think the first things first, we're going to bring in our third place finisher from race 2. Let's bring in Paul LeMay. Paul, good evening.
Good evening, Alex. How are you?
Good evening. Very, very good. Well, chap, 2 third places in a row. Well done.
Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, that was hard work.
That was the first thing I was going to ask you. How difficult was it out there? Obviously, we knew that Road America, you got a second and a third place. You're now third in the championship going into the final round. But some pretty strong performances. You even gave Simon something to think about in the opening race of the night.
Yeah. No, I'm really pleased. It's been a really tough week. I've really struggled with my hands, so it's. I really didn't. I wasn't sure how I'd go in the second race, but it went okay. But my arms are about to fall off. But other than that, really enjoyed it, and just keep pushing. I've just really, my main goal was to beat George, really, and I managed to do that in both races, so I'm really pleased.
Well, let's add another little bit, a little cherry to the top of the cake, shall we? Fastest lap in race 2 out of everybody.
Oh,
well
great!
done.
Thank you very much, mate. No, I'm really pleased with that. That's
So,
great.
so Interlagos next week, mate. How do you feel about that one?
I love Interlagos. I really do. Really enjoy it. Not so keen on the sort of little twisty bit in the middle, but other than that, yeah, hopefully we'll go well. I'll give as much practice as I can possibly do and see how it goes.
JP, have you got any questions to ask our good friend Mr. LeMay?
JP.
Hello, mate. You'll be pleased to know I gave you no grief.
Thank you, mate.
That's all right.
Where were you last race, mate?
Mate, I was literally, dude, I sounded like the squeaky toy out of Toy Story. It would not have been good, dude. I literally was bunged up. I think last week, at this moment in time, I was laying in bed watching me probably my 4th Star Wars film that I've watched all day, because I don't think I moved out of my bed all day. I was rough, dude, yeah. So
I'm glad you're better, mate.
I know, and I didn't say anything.
I hope you were on top form tonight, mate.
Always, mate, when I come and watch you race.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, I had a good race last week and I really pushed it, tried to beat James, but I couldn't. I think he had quite low wing. I was on quite a high wing last week, and again here I had a high wing, so I just didn't feel safe with anything too slim,
Yeah, mate, I know you're feeling, to be blatantly honest there, bud. But listen, great racing, great watching you all evening, Paul. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, bud?
Yeah, Seth. Yeah, Seth Brown. I think he did a really good job tonight. He had really good pace, and it was going to be difficult to get past him. I made a couple of little errors on the last lap, but he would have still got it. So shout out to Seth.
All right, mate, awesome stuff. Well, thanks so much, Paul, for joining us there, bud. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, guys.
Take care,
care
man.
now. Bye. Bye.
Lovely to hear from Paul there. Well, you know what? Now that he's mentioned Seth, let's bring Seth in, shall we? Seth Brown, good evening.
Good evening. You all right?
Not too bad. Well, how's about that? A second place finish in race 2. Finished 9th in race 1. All round a pretty good evening for you then.
Yeah, that is actually my first podium in how many years I've been doing this, which is incredible.
Yeah, I agree. It is as well, because I was just sitting here thinking, do you know what? That is the first time, apart from obviously Seth seeing you in IRL, that you've actually been in the booth. And I was just sitting there thinking that actually could be his first podium. So fair play to you, mate.
Yeah, I said I'd never go in the booth unless I got on a podium. So this is the first, yeah. Maybe it's not the last. I don't know.
Well, we've still got 1 more week to go. We've still got Interlagos next week, so you never know, Seth. There could be an opportunity there, buddy. But yeah still a pretty good launch off the line at the start of the feature, and you got down to business quite early. You started pulling a little bit of a gap, but of course, with the likes of James Barry and Simon Edwards, you knew it was probably an inevitability that one of them or maybe both of them could pass you at some point during the race. But still to hang on to P2's a solid effort around a very challenging circuit like Sebring anyway.
Yeah, I think I was always going to let James go. That wasn't worth fighting. And then I was thinking, can I use that draft to just keep me ahead of Paul? And I was literally looking at the seconds closing and the laps left and kind of thinking, no. But yeah.
Why did you not have a go with James?
I just thought it's going to bring me back into Paul, get into a fight, and I didn't see the point. So I was just kind of like, I'll use his draft, I don't see the point. It's just going to bring me back further.
But you had a fight with Jamie Bird that brought you into James in the first place.
Yeah, well, yeah. I have to apologise. I must apologise profusely to Jamie because I got a little hot-headed in race 1, and I took him out, and I'm sorry.
Oh, Seth.
I'm sorry.
At least you apologise, mate. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
I did wait for him, but yeah.
Nah, that's no dramas, did. I did wonder, I thought if you and Bird had stayed behind each other or, not fought, whether or not you could have held on to that gap till about sort of like 9, 10 and 11 and then, then you guys could have had a go. But unfortunately, you went into turn 1 and lost about 3/4 of a second by the time you come out the other side with you guys having a fight. But, dude, at the end of the day, you've got to be happy with your first podium at Sebring as well. Going to Interlagos, mate. Are we going to see another one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, why not?
Why not? Go for it. Seth, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
I think I should shout out to Jamie and apologise once again. And apart from that, everybody in the league and you guys, I think, it's just awesome, isn't it? So thanks. And I hope we get some more people in that season.
Yeah, I'm sure we will, dude, as well. So fair play to you, mate. Thank you so much for joining us there, Seth. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Cheers. Thanks.
Take care. All right, let's have a look. I'm just going to have a quick chat at Alex with the man who's had his first run out in the SR10s here, Mr. Ben Gregory. Ben, how was it out there?
Hello. It was interesting, very up and down, but overall pretty good. I think it's a start of a long journey for me with the car.
Mm-hmm.
I think towards the end I picked up quite a bit of pace, 156, 157s, which is still a bit off, but I think considering I only got the car today, I don't think it's too bad an improvement. I don't think I finished last in either of the race either, did I? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think you did there, mate, as well. I think there was a couple of... I might add, there might have been a couple of people who crashed and went into the pits. Does that still count or not?
It still counts, I'll take that. Survival of the fittest is racing, right?
Oh, right, mate, yeah, racing's racing. You weren't last in any of them, so fair play to you. Listen, dude, this is going to be a start of a journey for you. You've got lots of catching up to do. These guys have been driving this car since it came out. Before that, they were in the SR8s. They were absolutely speeding. So for you, this is going to be a journey, solidly. But at the end of the day, as long as you enjoyed yourself, as long as you get the practice in, especially at Interlagos, get some practice in there because that turn 1 will kill you if you get it all wrong. But mate, fair play to you for coming out and having a go. It's great to see you on track.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
No worries, bud. Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Shout out to Blaine. He was in my ear for the whole race, a good mate of mine, and he was cheering me on, bless him. So thanks to Blaine for watching.
Awesome job. Thank you very much, Ben. Catch up with you next week.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Right, there you go. Alex, I just wanted a quick chat with him. I will give you Phil Glover.
Mr. Positivity in the booth. Good evening, Phil.
Good evening. I changed my team name. Did it show up on your screen?
Positivity Racing, yes, it did.
Well, you inspired me, you see. So
there we go. That rarely happens. That rarely happens.
Did Sebring inspire you to go to the dentist in your motion simulator, though?
and your VR.
Yeah, you have to take your VR helmet off when you go in the dentist. So told me about that before. Yeah. I turned it down a little bit because it's a bit rock and roll otherwise. But yeah, it wasn't too bad an evening, was it?
No, I think you finished P11 in race 1, and then no, P11.
He was the 7th, I think, 7th or 8th.
8th in race 1, and and so yeah, you finished in P7 for race 2, so 2 top 10 finishes tonight, mate.
Yeah.
Not too bad at all.
Could have very nearly been 6, actually. Jamie just came out of that last corner before the long straight and just got lost a bit of traction, and that allowed him to get past. But yeah, up until that point, I had Paul Clark in my mirrors the last 4 or 5 laps. I thought he was going to get past me, but he didn't in the end.
Oh, but we've still got Interlagos to go next week, though. Phil, how are you fancying your chances there, buddy?
Well, I'm going to have to do a lot of practice because it really isn't one of my favourite tracks. I know it's James's, so
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, how are you doing, old fella?
I'm all right. The fact that you called me old, I don't know if I'm deeply offended or not, to be honest with you, Phil, but I am old, you're right. No, I'm all right, mate. It was just the flu. Knocked the hell out of me last week.
It's a tough life.
Yeah, it is, mate, but I'm all good now. I had some, you had Biggles and Alex. I'm sure it was an absolutely amazing broadcast.
It was pretty damn good.
Oh, there you go.
Obviously, I'm not. You want to make
You cut out on us there, Phil, as well. Listen, dude, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Well, to the usual crowd, everybody that's joined, and there was a new chap tonight as well, wasn't there? Was it? It was Ben, wasn't it?
Yes, Ben. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll give a shout out to him for joining this great bunch of lads.
Awesome stuff.
And lasses, then we get something.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for joining us there, bud, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Right, and let's bring in Mr. James Barry there as well. Simon seems to be doing some maths here and seems to have said the championship is over. I've got a 23-point difference, James, between the two of you going into that final round. First off, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I didn't count up like the drop weeks before this week, so I know it was a 6-point gap, and now it's obviously bigger. But I don't know what the drop weeks were, so I don't know the situation.
Yeah, no, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, mate. I think I don't know. I think we'll wait for the officials on that one as well. But listen, second in race 1, winning race number 2. How was it out there?
Well, once again, I really wanted to beat Simon in that sprint race just to kind of make a point, and unfortunately, once again, he got past, and I didn't have a proper answer for him, and so that was that race. But obviously, it all kind of comes down to the feature race, and that incident happened in front of us on lap 1, and I had a good view of it. It happened right in front of me, so I ducked to the inside, and I guess Simon was blindsided a bit and ended up with damage. And yeah, from then on, I just did what I had to do, and I knew my pace could carry me towards the front, and people didn't make it too hard for me getting past, so in the end it was comfortable enough.
No, it definitely was. Alex, any questions for James?
Yeah, I mean, with regards to the move that Simon did on you in race 1, I think we were concentrating on a couple of battles that were happening up and down the order. Whereabouts did it actually happen on track? I'm trying to remember now.
And one. Did you not see it?
Yes, we did.
No. Well, yeah, was it? Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, it's always been it's between you and Simon this season, James. It's been a bit of a pendulum, but it's swung a bit more in your favour tonight, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a lot of it's been kind of luck in the feature races. Like I remember, obviously at Algarve, Simon got torpedoed by a wild Mike Bousson, and it was. Obviously, and I remember in that race we had the little incident in sprint race as well. Today he gets unlucky again, and I feel like this season my pace has really carried me to the point I'm at. Whereas Simon, I think he's been better than me wheel to wheel, been better than me making decisions in the feature races and getting through the pack without any incidents that weren't his own fault. So I have to say, if I'm the champion, obviously I'm happy for that. But I have to say that Simon's been amazing this season once again, and it could have gone either way.
So Interlagos next week, championship finale, should be a good one to see off the season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a good track. It's good racing there. It's not my favourite track, but it's very good racing there. Yeah, it should be entertaining.
Well, James, congratulations on your second in the sprint and the victory in the feature. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight before we let you go?
Shout out everyone. I guess I have to shout out George for helping me out once again, and just shout out everyone in the league. And well done to Seth for P2 as well. That was really good from him.
Brilliant, James. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week at Interlagos for the season finale.
Yeah, cheers to you guys. Bye.
And I think we have one. Do we have time for one more? I think we do, don't we? Mr. Edwards is waiting in the interview booth, interview waiting room as well. Simon, good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a tale of two halves for you tonight, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky to get away with that contact in the second race there at the beginning. I did my best to avoid without hitting anybody, but the car went a bit sideways on me, so I slammed into George, I think it was, and it damaged all the rear of my car. But it's still fun. I could get it round.
Yeah, I think you also clipped the wall coming out of the final corner at one point as well, whilst you were battling away with George later on in the race, if I remember correctly.
No, that'll have been just the broadcast. I got close. I was intentionally trying to invite him to come behind me and do it.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is it's. I was just speaking to James a moment ago, and it's been very much like a pendulum swing where you guys have had really, really good races, and then there's been times when Lady Luck hasn't been quite on your side. I mean, this is probably the time where you had to try and exercise as much damage limitation, but obviously with the battle with what happened in front of you, then getting caught blindsided with the car going a little bit sideways. How much speed were you losing on the straights? Because we could tell that you were quite clearly struggling.
Yeah, well, it was twofold. I could just about gain if I got within about half a second of somebody. I could just start gaining on them, so I didn't really have a proper toe. So it was in time wise, it was probably a second. But the left-handers were problematic as well because I bumped the rear right tire wheel as well, so something wasn't straight on it. So, but it was still drivable. Just didn't have the pace. That's all.
But a bit of fun with George in the latter stages of the race, anyway, going tooth and nail, side by side at points. It's always nice when you have that. That racing respect and also, the friendliness of the people that compete in this league as well, don't you?
Yeah, I did, and I ran into the back of George as well when I was trying to stay with him, but luckily I didn't spin him round. But yeah, everybody was really fair there. It was all good fun. Yeah.
Any questions from your side, James?
Well, I think
I've already worked it out. James is champ regardless. He doesn't even need to turn up.
Does he not?
Oh.
No.
Oh.
If I get 65 points, I'll still be 3 short. According to my spreadsheet, anyway.
All right, mate. Well, there you go. Still worth turning up for.
Oh, it is. I love Interlagos, and I think you do too, don't you?
Oh, mate, I love Interlagos. Best circuit ever.
Well, Simon, thanks very much for talking to us tonight, buddy. Anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
We'll give a shout out to James. Is it second championship?
Yes.
Yes.
Or third, can't remember.
Second.
But yeah. He's done well. I was pretty consistent through the season, so to beat me when I'm being consistent is good going.
Well, Simon, thanks a lot, buddy, and we'll see you next week for the Interlagos finale.
Yep, see you there, guys.
Take care.
Well, the dust settles here at Sebring, and James Barry now has 2 titles to his name. James Parfitt.
Yes, he does. It is his second one, of course. Won the first one, lost it back to Simon, and then won the next one the season after. So great job from all of them, really, and looking forward to the final round. It should be fun.
Yeah, well, folks, before we close out the broadcast tonight, there's still plenty of racing coming up here on the JP Broadcasting Network. A Sim Racing Collective Tin Top Sprint heads to Mosport in Canada tomorrow night at round 2. Then we got the Casual Racing League F1 2024 round 5 for Baku. Then we got the Virtual World Sports Car Championship 1964 for the Mount Dore Hill Climb. Tanzo Racing Group GR86 round 5 at Knock Hill. And, as always, to round off every week on a Sunday night, it's nothing else but IGP Fun, Super Formula Lights, Season 4, Round 12 at the Nürburgring. A big thank you to everyone watching on the JP Broadcasting Network. You've joined myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and James Parfitt tonight. So, well, race hard, race fair, and if in doubt, keep it flat out. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Good night for now.
Thank you.